to justice. Obstruction to justice. Obstruction to justice.
Justice now.
Well, hello, and welcome to another broadcast of Obstruction to Justice. And this is an opportunity for us to just chat about the different political, socioeconomic, just different ideas and things that are going on in the local communities uh, in America, huh? And of course, my favorite subject is always business. Hey, Anthony Clark, good to see that you've joined today. Thank you for chiming in and blessings to you too. And, this is also an interactive opportunity for you to chime in with your ideas and suggestions and, just participate. This is not just a one sided conversation. But today we're going to really dive into something that I think is super important to learn and understand because we've been talking about the microeconomics issue and microeconomics, um, the different things that go on in microeconomics, especially in the inner city and the inner city American communities and American communities. So we're going to continue on with that today. Great opportunity to do that. And, one of the I'm not a shock jock. I want everyone to know that I'm not a shock jock. So I'm not good at, okay, because some people are really good at coming up with fascinating, intriguing things to talk about. But what I like to talk about are relevant situations and their solutions, right? So we can talk about all of the issues that go on in society and you know, we can discuss them, but then what about some solutions to the issues, right? And what about staying focused on resolving the issues so that maybe within a shorter amount of time, not so much, 50 years, 100 years. I'm a little tired of some of this. And let's just be honest, I'm a whole lot tired of a lot of this. Okay, I don't know if I've shared, but I'm Ann Moles. I do want to say that, and so everyone knows who I am. But, I want to make sure that we are doing something about what's going on in today's society to make it a better tomorrow for the young people and for young people that are within the communities that maybe not aren't doing so well, because really we're all Americans and we need to come together like we are Americans, right? I know that there's always been a self-interest, special interest. Hey, Reza Singleton, glad that you joined. Always the self-interest, special interest, uh, because you're interested in what's going on within your own communities, and that's cool too. But just know that this is the United States of America. Okay. So being united, we stand. Now, see, we used to say that. And of course, we know that divided we fall. And that's even scriptural, yep, you got it. You guessed it. The cat is let out of the bag once again. I am a Christian. And even the scriptures say that a house divided can't stand. So we wonder, what is going on, and then to provide some solutions to some of what we can, at least discuss it. So open discussions, and put in the chat what it is you want to contribute and everything, and just make it good for yourself, right? Participate. Now we're going to talk about a subject today that we're going to discuss the discriminatory practices of redlining. Yeah, redlining. So we're going to just dive right into that. I'm kind of on a schedule now to where, I can't really have at it like I want, but, we're going to stretch some of this out. Today, we're going to talk about redlining. There's so much to talk about, the subject of redlining. People just don't know And we just walk through our days, live through our days, and we just think that everything is hunky dory with what it is, me, myself, and I, and all that. Well, if it's not good for your neighbor, then it's not really going to be good for you, because truth is, it's coming everywhere. We are in big financial trouble when it comes to the United States, and we're going to need to come together, and at least those of us that are aware, let's speak out and let's talk about some things to make things better. So let me go ahead, and I'm just going to dive right in. Again, this is the microeconomics and inner city American community. So we're going to talk about redlining today. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with what redlining is. Okay, now there's tons of information about what redlining is because it's a hot topic, right? But it shouldn't be just a hot topic. It should be a topic that is relevant and that we talk about and that we make sure that we're aware of and we share with our legislators, so that when they go in to make votes and when they go in to write legislation, then it does include annihilating and these different discriminatory actions and legal actions that are taking place to discriminate against primarily the African American communities. Okay. we just want to say that that's really who it's about. So redlining, and I looked at this is Investopedia. I looked at some information out there, but really it ties in with all of what I'm seeing. And then there's some other research. I got a spreadsheet that I want to share too a little bit later on. But redlining is a discriminatory practice that puts services, financial and otherwise, out of reach for residents of certain areas based on race or ethnicity. It can be seen in the systematic denial of mortgages, insurance, loans, and other financial services based on location and that area's default history, rather than on an individual's qualifications and creditworthiness. Notably, the policy of redlining is felt the most by residents of minority neighborhoods. Okay, so that's really, you drive in the different communities, and I travel all over the country, and I know there's many out there that listen and do the same. Travel all over the country, and there's a hood everywhere. Yeah, so there's a hood everywhere, and I don't know, I'll get in the rental car, and a lot of times what happens is I'll get lost. I do the GPS, and I'm not saying, okay, don't take me through this area or this neighborhood or what. I'm just trying to get there, right? So there are times where I get a chance to drive through the different neighborhoods, and you can tell that there's something wrong. What is it about certain neighborhoods where they're socially, economically oppressed? Because there's older houses there. There aren't amenities there when we're talking about stores, convenience stores, where you can get what you're needing quickly without paying a whole lot. Big box stores. You can always tell certain neighborhoods and what type of neighborhoods there are based on what companies are represented in those neighborhoods as well. So I drive around and I get a chance to see really what's going on with these particular areas and neighborhoods. And I just see that, there's oppression there. And you have to ask the question, why? Well, there's systematic redlining that's going on. And based on what we just talked about, we know that even when we're talking about the financial discriminatory practices that are put on services, financial and otherwise, what that means, even financial services. And I want to take it to the primary feature here. When we're talking about financial services, let's talk about jobs. Okay. There's an old saying in the African American community, last one hired, first one fired. Okay. So that means you're not on your job long if you're going to get the job. And they just hire you. You're the last one hired, but you're the first one to get up out of there. And I think that that's a lot of what happens in the African American communities, is that there's discrimination going on in the hiring practices, even though, a lot of these companies get government funding, and they do have to represent who it is that they're hiring, or who it is that they're interviewing. There's has been several class action lawsuits that have gone on, and one that I'm kind of familiar with in particular, and that there was even age discrimination. Well, age discrimination, even within that, it's like, okay, well, they're not going to hire you because of you being a certain age. They have to pay you more, they feel, or they think, they have to pay you more. And of course, you're going to want more, but you're going to know more. So you're going to get what they're paying for. Well, if there's age discrimination, that's also a financial issue, right? But not just last one hired, first one fired, but being unemployed. Unemployment rate is still high amongst the percentage of our population. That's just a known fact, and it still continues to be that way. So unemployment, and then underemployment. So that's an issue. You're not getting paid what you're worth. You're having to take a job, of course, which is a very honorable thing to do. Let's get the jobs. Take the job and then work the job and do the best to be within budget and hang in there. And while you're working a job, continue to look for a job. And we teach that in career management. We have a great career management class with ASBNC training and consulting. We teach you those fundamental principles, and a lot of times people just don't know. Gone are the days or when you can get with a company and retire from the company. They're just not going to let you stay, right? Whatever goes on, you get with a boss that is unreasonable or whatever. They don't like you. They want to bring in their buddy or their whatever, and there you go. Your job is gone, right? So then when it comes to not having the job or volatile income, right? That's kind of really the issue. So they know, okay, well, this is a African American person. They may not be on their job tomorrow. They're going to have issues or whatever about paying mortgage or keeping up with payments. So they could probably realistically come up with that because they know that it's systematically put in the system to where there's discrimination against African Americans. So, you have that. And then what about being the single parent or the single person in the home, having to be the breadwinner and having to be the parent too? So it's only one person, breadwinner in the home. They qualify for the loan, they get the home, but then something happens and, they can't make the house payment or whatever. They get behind on the house payment and then boom, they're out. If you don't have a perfect life for freaking 30 years, right, there's going to be something to go on, right? There's going to be something to where you're going to be ousted out of the house. And it just happens where it comes more for African Americans. Even when it comes to cars, keeping a car payment, if you have a job today, you don't have a job tomorrow, what happens to the car payment? You just don't have it, right? So there's a lot of that going on. So we're talking about discriminatory practices that put services like financial and otherwise out of reach for residents of certain areas based on race and ethnicity. And, I could raise both hands. I've experienced all of it. We can also talk to the person that says, hey, I've never experienced it. I've had this great life and, it's just not like that. I don't know what people are thinking about. Well, they're in denial because we're getting ready to share some statistics and show even where, I have this spreadsheet, and this comes from the Census Bureau, where it just shows that there is discrimination as far as property and ownership, home ownership there. So in home ownership, we're going to share too what home ownership really is. And I'm going to just go ahead and let the cat out of the bag on a little bit of this. Hey, Frank Hollins, glad that you joined. Yes. Yep. Truth. Yep. Truth. That is so true. what we're sharing here, and that's okay. At least we know the truth, right? And then from there, we can do something about it. That's what's up. But when it comes to home ownership, say for instance, and this is where wealth is accumulated. I know that there's some financial theories that home is a liability, it's not really an asset or whatever. But you know what? Those people that are saying that same thing, they own property, they own homes. So until you can show me, you can preach that saying that it's a liability or whatever. You show me where you don't own a home, you live in a rental property, you know, that is owned by someone else, then you can tell me about it. But these are millionaires that have their own homes and own property. So don't fall for that okey doke. That here where it's a liability and that you have to take care of it, but you have to take care of everything, right? But the thing about this piece of property, and it may not become real to you until you get older, young people. Yes, buy the home, right? Buy the home if you can. Hang in there, save to where you have the 6 months or whatever you're needing to pay the mortgage. So if it gets to that, don't live above your means in the home. Because what happens is, I don't care if it takes you 30 years, get that 30-year fixed mortgage. Get it. Right now, the interest rates are where they're super low, and I know that there's supposed to be a shortage on available homes out there or whatever. But when you purchase that property and you get that 30-year fixed loan, right now interest rates are low. Okay, that property, and even if you do pay it off, when you pay it off in 30 years, and that's 30 years. Say for instance, you double up, you go ahead and pay it off in 20 years. You're really diligent about it. Well, 20 years from now, you have something that you can sell, or rent out. But say, for instance, you sell because the property value, you've taken care of it, and it's increased, right? The property value is increased. Then you can sell it and go buy something that you want, maybe a business building, right? Maybe that's something. And then get the business where you can actually live in the business, and you're in your retirement years and you're having fun. Maybe you don't want to travel. Maybe you want to own a business, and now you're ready to take the risk, right? But that is a monetary asset to where, yeah, you can cash it out. Now, the way that things are going, I'm not sure whether or not it's so easy, cut and dry. I don't know what the next 20 years are looking like, but that is just my perspective of what I'm seeing and experiencing. Look, you get the home. If those of folks that purchased the home 20, 30, the home's paid off. Now there's property, there's land that you want to purchase, and with that land, you can put something on it. See, it might be about getting that piece of land where you can grow vegetables. Get something, you can have a garden to where you can take care of yourself, because it might be coming to that. Have you seen the prices in the grocery store, and the bags are getting a little smaller, the portions are getting a little smaller, shrinkage or whatever. So your dollar's not buying as much, but they still want the same amount of money. Maybe the price is increasing in some of the products. Well, the thing is about preparation to where you can have something. Another thing about home ownership is, you purchase that home, that's your home. And then when you pass, then how many people have inherited homes, right? Those loved ones that have passed and have left the home to where, okay, that home is paid for. And then of course it's about taxes and maintenance on it, but that's still cheaper than trying to go out and throw money away. Right. And of course, it's all about what it is you're looking to do. But this is one of the reasons why home ownership is important in any community, in that European Americans, if it wasn't such a big deal, then why do European Americans families have homes? Why do they have homes? Why have property if it's not a big deal to have? Right. Well, they can also get the loans, but here's the thing, work towards that, right? Work towards that. And there's some opportunities where you can get those loans. I know, see, God is going to open up doors for who he wants to open up doors for. I don't care what color we are. God will fight the battle. And that's where the faith comes in, and God opens up the doors. Okay, so we're talking about redlining. So here instead of the credit worthiness. So instead of going and basing loan opportunities to people that are credit worthy and qualified individuals, they write redlining policies to discriminate based on residents of a minority in minority neighborhoods. Okay. Frequently asked questions they have here. Why is it called redlining? Well, the term redlining was coined by sociologist John McKnight in the 1960s, and it derives from how the federal government and lenders would literally draw a red line on a map around the neighborhoods they would not invest in based on demographics alone. In the 1930s, the federal government began redlining real estate, marking risky, quote, so say, risky neighborhoods for federal mortgage loans on the basis of race. So, and this is the federal government. So the loans, FDR, had that policy where they were giving home loans and everything. Well, when they do the redlining and here's risky neighborhoods, well, African American neighborhoods weren't getting, or people weren't getting the loans to have and purchase the property, but European Americans were. So there's generations. 1930, shoot, my dad was born in 33. So he's been passed. So that whole generation, that's a whole generation of 40 years is 20 years is a generation. So you're looking at generations that have had opportunities to have wealth by having home ownership and being able to qualify for federal mortgage loans. Okay, so why is redlining discriminatory? Redlining is a discriminatory practice as it puts services, financial and otherwise, out of reach for residents of certain areas based on race or ethnicity. It can be seen in the systematic denial of mortgages, insurance loans, and other financial services based on the location and that area's default demographic rather than on the individual's credit qualifications and credit worthiness. In Black inner city neighborhoods were most likely to be redlined. Investigations found that lenders would make loans to lower income whites, but not to middle or upper income African Americans. The result of this redlining in real estate could still be felt decades later. Yep. So even if you had the money, you were upper income, middle income, African American, you still weren't getting the loans. Yeah. So that's pretty devastating there. So the takeaway for this redlining is discriminatory practice. It's a discriminatory practice of denying services, typically financial, to residents of certain areas based on their race or ethnicity. Under fair lending laws, these factors cannot be used for making lending or underwriting decisions. So there are laws in place to say, hey, this is illegal. You can't do that. Well, we know it's happening, even if it's happening in a way to where, okay, that the income isn't there because you're discriminating against making sure that the African American doesn't have or keep that job or doesn't have the good paying job. Doesn't keep it. So, that's a way to discriminate. Okay, redlining is most often associated with mortgage lending practices, but can also be seen in student loans, business loans, car loans, and personal loans. So, you're redlining when it comes to those student loans. Now, look, they could have did me a favor, huh? Don't give me the money. Because by the time I get through working and dealing with your little school and education on some of this stuff, you probably could have did better going to a different type of school. You don't have to always have that college education. Is the college education worth the piece of paper that you paid for? What are you doing with it? And I think there's a lot of young Americans that are asking that question because even now they go out there and they get these school loans and they go to school. And then from there, they go to school, but then, hey, they come out of school and can't find a job or whatever because of maybe even age discrimination on that end. So there's a discrimination on that, but then a discrimination based on race. All right. So that redlining, unfair to that, student loans, business loans, we won't even talk about that. It's already, you listen to the different news medias and everything and talking about how big corporations got loans and didn't even need the loans. But then small businesses didn't get loans. And there's some small businesses during the COVID didn't get the loans, and now they're closed for good. And businesses are just dropping like flies. No more small business. Big business can stay in, tact and grow, but then the small business person doesn't. It's kind of like that. And I know that there are even issues with doing business as a small business person. Now, I'm going to say, guys, if you're a big corporation, you're into management and you can go out and you can hire, you're into supporting small business, minority business, women-owned businesses, then do that and pay them. Gosh, there's a sort of a rule that if you do business with a company, just know that there's certain companies I just don't do business with. I'm not going to get a contract with them to pour any kind of money in it because they're not going to pay you unless the invoice is 60 days old. So don't count on, okay, 2 weeks like a job, 2-week check. I've done the work and I'm going to invoice you. And then 2 weeks later, I'm going to get my check. That's not going to work. That's not how these big businesses do. They'll drag on and drag on. They don't pay their bills. Yeah, they don't pay their bills. But I think the whole case in point and what I'm trying to share here is that when you do business, even the business loan. So what about getting a business loan to where you could hold on for 2 months and then from there get paid and then pay the loan off, to even qualify for a business loan, being in an ethnic African American business, Black owned business, minority owned business. Personal loans. Now, here's what's crazy. These personal loans, you'll have those, what are those different payday loans? You'll have payday loans, places in the African American communities or where they can easily access that. Now it's not so much in the communities per se, but you have your mobile devices, and with artificial intelligence, they know who you are. So here's they see that you've been Googling, having some issues or whatever, Googling, maybe help pay with a particular bill. And then you're Googling the different social services. And then, here comes an ad that pops up somewhere in one, maybe even a feed. Now, Facebook, any of them, the different feeds that will show, well, hey, here's a loan, here's a payday loan. And you get tempted and maybe you fall into that category. So even now, it's not so much brick and mortar anymore, businesses within the African American communities, but maybe social spying, based on your just spying on your digital device there to see what it is that you are interested in. And then there's the ad, but don't deal with the payday loans. Leave those alone. There's got to be other alternatives for that. So now it says here that courts have determined that redlining is illegal when lending institutions use race as a basis for excluding neighborhoods from access to loans. Yes, that's what it says. Courts have determined that. Well, who's going to enforce the laws, right? And sometimes people get so discouraged to where they don't even fight for their rights, right? So, but if you're going to, don't get discouraged. Hang in there and do what you need to do for your rights. In addition, the Fair Housing Act, which is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, prohibits discrimination in lending to individuals in neighborhoods based on their racial composition. However, the law does not prohibit excluding neighborhoods or regions on the basis of geological factors such as fault lines or flood zones. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, anyway. The destructive legacy of redlining has been more than economic. A new 2020 study by researchers at the National Community Reinvestment Coalition and the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee and the University of Redmond finds that the history of redlining, segregation, and disinvestment not only reduces minority wealth, it impacted health and longevity, resulting in the legacy of chronic disease and premature death in many high minority neighborhoods. All right. Well, we know that, stress factors, and that's just part of what we have experienced. There's stress factors when you're dealing with, okay, well, how am I going to pay this bill, or where am I going to get this funds, or whatever. So there's a lot of stress factors in being African American, right? Now, here's the thing. Let me just go on. I'm going to go on to this next slide here, and we're gonna just share again. Yeah, the American dream. The American dream is, now here's the solution that I've kind of come up with, right? Home ownership is just one way of investing and having wealth and passing it down through generations, right? And that's important. But I think that really the part of what we're experiencing is the discrimination that we deal with. We need to heal from it, and we need to be assured, okay, that we can do something about it so that we don't get discouraged, we don't give up, right? So when it comes to economics, I tell you, I'm the worst. Okay, so if I know that I'm getting a little low on funds, my spending funds here, or even my little play money or whatever, I get a little cranky. I get to looking around to see what's going on. But even still, to be wise about what we spend and what we spend things on. So if there's any way to cook instead of going out, if there's any way to, I buy great things. I don't care where it comes from. As long as I like it, I'm going to buy it. So I may buy things, of course, on the clearance rack, on sale, secondhand shops. We can find great treasures there. So being frugal with the money is what I'm trying to share, in that there was a lot of sacrificing that we had to do as African Americans in the past. Also, sacrificing, it's not something that it's important to do even today. So when we're called consumers, it doesn't mean that we have to consume. What we can do is be content with what we have, take care of what we have, and look to real wealth, what real wealth is. And of course, investing in ourselves and in our families, that's really real wealth. Because if we fall into the trap of trying to kill ourselves to be better than the Joneses down the street, but we haven't poured into our children to lift them up and help them with reading and help them with math and invest in them so that they can aspire to do more with their lives, then, what have we really accomplished, right? So the American dream, yes, have the home if you can. But if you're at the point in your life to rent, then okay, pay the rent, but then invest. You'll have to invest in yourself and in your family, the most precious resource that's real, because without yourself or family, there would be no big bank or no government trying to come and take, right? Or come and dupe us and steal from us and oppress us and keep us from African Americans from doing better. So that's something that definitely we can look into to make sure that we are identifying what real wealth is. Of course, yes, real estate, and yes, it's wrong to be discriminated against, but let's not get so discouraged to where we can't pick up and find value when we look in the mirror and when we look at our children and our grandchildren. That's the point. Okay. So, yeah, anyone else want to chime in? I appreciate your chiming in. Yeah, there you go. Uh, so let's go ahead and we'll look at examples of redlining can be found in a variety of financial services. We talked about that, not only mortgages, student loans, um, and the credit cards and insurance. Although the Community Reinvestment Act was passed in 1977 to help prevent redlining, critics say discrimination continues to occur. For example, redlining has been used to describe discriminatory practices by retailers, both brick and mortar and online. Reverse redlining is the practice of targeting neighborhoods, mostly non-white, for higher prices or lending on unfair terms such as predatory lending or subprime mortgages. Oh boy. Now we can even look at the big box stores. You can go to certain big box stores. Now, big box stores means the big companies. Now we're gonna name all of them, what Walmart or Target. Not to say that I'm mentioning those, but they're big box stores. If you notice, just go in and check some of the prices. You're gonna discover that there's probably gonna be something maybe not on sale that would be on sale at a if it were in a different community, or as far as the pricing, it's going to be more, look, a few cents more as opposed to if it were in a different community. So I've even price checked and saw myself that the reverse redlining practices within some of the big box stores that are in specific communities. And, they can make excuses all they want, right? But if the excuse is they still come and bring they want your money, they're going to put the store there for you to be there. Why do I have to pay more because it's in my community? That's redlining. To me, that's for real discrimination. Just because it's on this street, but it's not on this street, I'm going to pay more because it's in my community, still close by me. That's wrong. And that's what reverse redlining is. Targeting the neighborhoods for higher prices or lending on unfair terms, such as predatory lending. Of course, we talked about the payday loan place. You're paying outrageous interest and all that. And subprime mortgages. We got slammed. People lost their homes. You went in and of course, it was higher interest rates at subprime. It's not the prime interest rate is what that means. So, prime interest rate would be what? Even now, shoot, I think they're going interest rates on 30 year fixed mortgages might be what, 3% or whatever. But, if you're in a different community, you have a home that you're going to be purchasing in a community, or you're, reverse redlining. Look, they know you're African American. I just got to walk through the door. Yeah, I'm black. I'm African American. Well, that's going to cost me more. That's subprime. I'm not going to pay the prime interest rate. I'm going to be paying more, right? So that's an issue. That's an issue. And here is one of my main points that I want to reiterate here. There's always a campaign in every town in the greater Kansas City community. I remember that was a big deal to buy local. And they'll even say that now. Buy local, right? You can go to any town in the greater Kansas City community, Chamber of Commerce, and you'll see all the marketing tools there. Buy local. They want people who live in those communities, those towns, to go to the stores that are there and purchase the goods and services. Of course, we have Independence down the way. Big shout out to Independence. They build up and it looks great, and they have the amenities and everything that you would need to be convenient. It would be a convenience for you, very, very local to where you are. And of course, just They have the Independence Mall, so if if you live in a town, if you live in Kansas City, then you go to Independence to spend your dollars. Well, that's not buying local. Okay. Same as Blue Springs, right? That's another greater Kansas City suburb there or town. Lee Summit. So if you live in Lee Summit, but then you take your dollars and go to Independence, and spend them, then that's not buying local to Lee Summit. They're wanting people to, Chamber of Commerce, Business Chamber of Commerce, commerces in those areas want you to stick around and spend your dollars there. Blue Springs, shout out to Blue Springs. That's one of my old stomping grounds. They want you to, as a buy local campaigns. They had that going all over the place. Well, that's good. Okay, buy local. Buy local. But there's another campaign that I think that needs to be made aware of those or in the African American community. Support Black businesses. Yes. Because at that point, there are more about Black businesses than church. Yeah, I know. No, dumping on the churches. A big shout out to all the churches. Big shout out to my community organization. Amen. But there's more to business than church. There's more to business than the fried rice joint down the street. There's more to business than the well, I got to watch what I say about that. But who's running the gas stations now? Yeah, they're not even owned, not even locally. They're owned internationally. These are international people coming in the Black community, selling you gas, selling you the convenience store items and everything. But buy Black. So here's the point: you might have to drive to a location. You might have to drive to Blue Springs. You might have to drive to Lee Summit. Well, do a once a month trip. And get in the car with your girls, and hang out and go buy your once a month stuff. And that way you can support Black businesses. And there's more than hair stores. Big shout outs to brother James Davis, who owns the beauty supply store out there in Lee Summit. Those that own beauty supply stores all over, and beauticians, those are Black businesses. Big shout outs to all the beauticians, barbers. Oh my goodness, very gifted and talented people. But look for other businesses too that do more than just hair, which is a great service. Mechanics, that do more than just that. So that way, what you're doing, you're supporting a community that should have an interest of the community at heart. It's like if you're going to do business with other, they have the big Christian campaigns too, right? There's different advertisements, different Christian businesses, and where they get a chance to do their advertisement on Christian radio, and they say support Christian businesses. It's no different. Because there's an interest there to where your dollar becomes that vote. There were great businesses in the African American communities before desegregation. Yeah, great businesses. You had the restaurants there. You had the smaller stores. They were more mom pop stores. You had the different amenities that you could use there within the Black communities. But then what happened? Segregation happened. And but see what they're saying, desegregation rather happened. And then here we take our dollars elsewhere instead of being in the Black communities. Well, take them to the Black businesses, the African American businesses, and use that vote. Women-owned businesses. That's another business that there's a community of women, the sisterhoods, whether they're sorority, even the fraternities. It's like, okay, well, my friend has a business over here with different sorority, different fraternity. I'm gonna go do business with them. It's the same mindset. You're taking your money and you're making a vote. You're supporting what you believe in, right? And then from there, it gets better. because if you're supporting that African American business, and that African American business grows, then that African American business is more able to hire you, right? Or hire your children or hire your grandchildren because they're going to need more people there. So think about that. It's like, okay, I'm not, some people are so crab barrel where I'm not going to invest in that business. I know that brother, I went to school with him. So, so you went to school with him. People change. People do better. Shoot, I went to school with him. I know him. Okay. And now he's trying to do something. And what are you going to do? You're going to help him? Or are you going to talk about how you knew him or his mistakes that he made or her mistakes that she made? But what's she trying to do now? And if you lift up the African American businesses, then from there, like I said, you'll it's more likely to where you'll be able to build something to where you can hire other African Americans. There are call centers out there, you know. Come on, there's just a way. And this is what one of the solutions that I'm bringing is that we should look to support Black businesses, and from there expect and just know that things will get better because you're investing in your community wherever it is, because it's not down the street anymore, but it's where you can go and reach out to the community. And then who knows, I mean, they may be able to come in and purchase the areas, the land, and build the facilities within the African American communities and provide more. Right now we're into education, ASBNC training and consulting. We have ASBNC Academy, and our niche market and the people we help are business people. Yeah. So people that are in business, people that are in corporate America and they need to sharpen their skills. They need to train on new processes. That's something that we help out with here at ASBNC Training and Consulting. We have the Business Management 2 Advanced Microsoft Excel class that's going to be coming up in July. Now, this is a fun class in that, you're going to learn about the different processes, the advanced processes of Microsoft Excel. And I'm speaking to a very educated crowd. I'm going to say that because when you're in business or when you're in any type of even customer service, there are different reports that you're going to need to be able to evaluate. And Microsoft Excel is a great tool to do that. Now, this is going to be an instructor-led class. It is online. But say, for instance, you have a couple of people that, or, you want to come in class and participate, we can definitely get you. We're going to set that up. So you just let us know that you'd like to come in. And now that COVID is over, and in the sense to where they're opening up things again, and we'll accommodate you. We'll still be online, but there's we do have on-site training. We can invite you on site to do the training as well. And of course, we're going to walk through the advanced features of Microsoft Excel, VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs. That's when you're dealing with big data. Okay. And one thing that I like about this, we're going to work on macros and financial functions, pivot tables, building those reports to where you can actually see how things are going, what's going on, building a matrix, a decision matrix. By the time you leave that class, if you have a particular matrix that you're needing to build, we will walk you through and help you build it, right? So decision matrix are really cool. They're neat. They'll help you make the decisions. It's a way to where you can apply percentages and then come up and have a visual of what it is that the best decision to make, the best vendor to choose based on your requirements of what that vendor needs to have. So we'll help you build all of that. Maybe you need something that has a pivot table, and bring in your data we're confidential in what we do. We're not going to take your information and share it or use it. Oh no, there's so much data we're trying to get rid of data. No, what we'll do is help you build it. So then you'll have the tool. And of course, you'll already have the knowledge and process of how to build it again if you need to. But then you can take it and put it on a flash drive and then have it for you to where you can actually use it and repeat it, build it again, and just plug and play different numbers. And then that way you'll be able to have it quickly where you can get your hands on it and build those reports and presentations. That's what it's all about. You got to see what you're doing in business. And this is a great class and a great way, of course, a great tool, Microsoft Excel Business Management 2 is what we call it. And we'll help you through that. Oh, goodness gracious. What did we do today? We talked about it. And we did pretty good on the time as well. We talked about it. Look, there is no quick fix to any of this. It has been by design to where there has been decades of oppression, right? Decades of oppression. Do the studies for yourself. Get comfortable to know this is what's happening. But also think of some ideas and maybe even take some of our suggestions and make them and apply them to your life to where you can see a future. You can see down the road to where it doesn't repeat the processes. We don't want to repeat the processes that are bad. We don't want to repeat bad processes. We want to invest in good processes where as we do, it'll be better for the communities down the road. And that's what it's all about. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging in there, everyone that did. And, just keep in touch. Again, if the Lord says the same, we'll see you next time.
Justice now.